Hey guys, my name's Doug with Infotainment.com. Today we're working on the 2019 and up Ram heavy duty truck. That's the 2500 through the 5500. Today I'm going to show you guys an awesome upgrade we carry here on our website. It's the factory Mopar wireless charging kit for your smartphone. Those of you who have a floor-mounted center console, this will look familiar to you. You just have to replace the front portion of the console, install some wiring, the module itself, and at the very end, you're gonna program your vehicle or your truck with the OBD Genie programmer. That will change your vehicle's body control module to accept this upgrade kit. Very easy to install. I'm gonna show you guys how to do it today, so let's get started. All right, to install the wireless charging kit, we're gonna wanna pull the center console from the dash. Now there's a total of 6 10mm screws you need to remove. You're gonna have 2 on the front lower portion of your center console and 2 in the back. Those are covered up with some little small trim pieces. You can just pop those out. Then you can remove these 2 small closeout panels on the front, which will give you access to the additional 2 10mm bolts. Once you remove all 6 of those, you can pull this whole assembly from the dash, which will give you room to install the kit. So we're gonna go ahead and do that now. Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna remove the 2 closeout panels. Behind those 2 closeout panels will be the last remaining 2 10mm bolts. So we'll go ahead and pull those out now. All right, now that we have our 6 10mm bolts out, we can go ahead and pull the center console from the dash. All right, so now we have 2 screws to remove, 1 on each side. These screws hold the trim pieces in, the upper trim pieces, so we can remove those. Now we're gonna remove 2 more screws on each side, which hold the front portion of the console in. All right, now those of you who have an existing CD player, you're gonna wanna remove 2 more screws here on the back side. Those of you who do not, you're just gonna wanna unplug your media hub connectors. If you have the inverter on the lower part of this panel, you can go ahead and remove that as well. But basically, once you have everything unplugged and the screws out, this panel just lifts out of place. All right, what we want to do now is we want to go ahead and install the actual wireless charger module on the back side of this trim panel. So we're going to install it in this location. The kit does come with 4 screws. These are Torx T20 screws, so we can go ahead and drive those in at this time. All right, a few other things that I want to mention. Now that we have the actual charger module installed, you see a couple openings here. This is for a cubby. There is a Mopar cubby that installs in here, big enough for about a wallet or for a factory CD player. This here is for your media hub, so we're going to want to remove the media hub from our other trim panel and pop it in here. And this down here is for your inverter. If you have an inverter, it'll just pop right into here. If you do not, this will just stay blank or open. In this particular install, you're gonna notice I'm going to install this without the Mopar cubby in here. And that's because we're going to install a factory RAM CD player after we're done with this upgrade. Our next video, we're gonna go ahead and put a factory CD player in this location. If you have a CD player, it screws right in through the back, these two little nuts here. Or if you have a cubby, an existing cubby, that'll also screw into this panel as well. So let's go ahead and put in our media hub. All right, to remove our media hub from our original panel, there's 2 clips at the bottom and 2 at the top. So what you want to do is put enough pressure on the top and the bottom to release the hub. All right, now that we've released the clips, we can go ahead and insert it into the new panel. You'll hear it clip into place. All right, now that we have the media hub installed, we can go ahead and install this assembly in the truck. But before we do, we want to go ahead and install our wiring so it can just plug right into the new module. So let's get started with the wiring. All right, this here is the plug that's going to plug into our wireless charging module. Coming out of it is 3 wires. Our red wire is our power, this is our ground, and this here is actually LIN bus. Now the LIN bus is gonna connect to the body control module, which is located above your brake pedal. If you look up in there, you'll notice the module looks kind of like this. Now, this pin will be inserted into this connector here. It's the E connector. So if you press your tab in and slide your lever up, you'll be able to notice your connector here. It's going to go into pin 45. So that's going to be this gray connector here. So you're gonna wanna pull out on the little tab that's holding it in and slide it out. Now, most of you, if not all of you, will actually have a wire already inserted, your LIN bus wire already inserted into pin 45. So the instructions from Mopar will tell you to cut this wire and solder onto there, but we don't like to cut and solder anything at Infotainment. So what we use is something called a posi tab. So what I'll demonstrate to you now is how to connect this wire to this wire using a posi tab. So I'll do that now. Okay, so this is a posi tab here. Now this is not included with the Mopar kit. You can buy these separately on Infotainment.com, or you can buy them on Amazon, wherever you want. But these are really cool. It's a neat way to connect into another connector. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take off the gray side and put it on the wire that you wanna connect to. Now, what we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and cut this terminal off because we don't need it. Now the reason why we don't need it is because it's already pinned, so we just need to connect to it. If for some crazy reason pin 45 was not already terminated, then you can just slide this in. Nevertheless, we're gonna go ahead and strip this back a little bit. We're gonna take the red end of the posi tab and slide it over this. Now what we're gonna do, you'll see a pointed end and a soft end. The pointed end goes to the gray. We'll make that nice and tight. Slide this over here. We're going to make a connection inside and simply just tighten the other end. So both ends are nice and tight. Now we're successfully pinned into this wire. You can give it a nice tug. It's a real clean way of doing it. So then at this particular point, all we have to do is slide our connector back into the shell, insert it back into the body control module, pull up on the gray lever and snap it into place. So I wanted to give you guys this demonstration on the bench because it's hard to get a camera angle up under the dash there. So this is the procedure you need to do to connect your LIN bus wire. All right, guys, I just showed you how to attach the LIN bus wire to your E connector on your BCM. That leaves us with power and ground. So what I actually did is, instead of doing the Mopar instruction way, where you're crawling up under your dash, going to the power distribution center, I cut off the power and ground. I kind of came back maybe 2 or so feet from the LIN bus connection. And basically what I'm gonna do is I'm going to install our EZ-DC kit, which is sold separately on Infotainment.com. You plug this into your cigarette lighter on your center stack. You plug your factory wiring into here. Then that gives you a really easy, clean way to attach to power and ground. You just got to crimp these on. So that'll be our way to get power and ground in this scenario. We got our LIN bus, and all we have to do is plug this into our newly installed module. So let's do that now. All right, one more tip. As you install that Positat, make sure this gray lever is all the way up. So when you stick it back into place, when you push it, it'll lock it into place. You can then reinstall the Christmas tree clip if you'd like. Now take your time in this whole process, guys, because this is probably the most difficult part of the install. It might take you 20, 25 minutes to tap into that wire. As a last resort, if you can't get your hands up in there, that little silver box there, there's either gonna be an amplifier or an ANC module. You can also take that out to give you a little extra room. Those are typically held in with about 3 bolts, just so you know. All right, we're gonna go ahead and bring our wiring from underneath like this. Then we're going to go ahead and plug it into our module. We're going to slide our new cubby into place. Again, if you have the little wallet cubby or the CD player, go ahead and install that at this time. I don't have one in this particular truck because, again, we're going to install a CD player. So anyways, it's now nice and tight. So we'll go ahead and plug in our media hub connectors. On the top, we have our wireless charging module plugged in. If you have the inverter, go ahead and put that module in and plug that in down here. But basically, we're ready to install the 2 lower screws here. All right, now what we're gonna do is we're gonna remove our center stack from the dash. We're not gonna unplug all the different connectors. We just need to get access to the top cigarette lighter. So in order to get access, we're gonna go ahead and lift up our cubby liner and then take out the 2 7mm screws. Now at this particular point, it's just held in with retaining clips, so you can go around the perimeter of the center stack here with a dash pry tool, or you can just muscle it out. The only connector we need is the one right back here. So we'll go ahead and disconnect that. Okay, so now what we're gonna do is we're gonna plug it into our EZ-DC, like that. And then we're going to tap in our power and our ground. So I kind of just ran the power and ground up under the instrument panel. So now we have a nice tight connection for both power and ground. You could put a little bit of electrical tape around it if you prefer. And then at this particular point, all we're gonna do now is plug this into our cigarette lighter and then reinstall our center stack. Now we're going to run our LIN bus wire up under behind the knee bolster to the body control module. All right, now we have all of our wiring complete. Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna reinstall the center console the same way we took it out. The last and final step is to run the OBD Genie programmer and temporarily install the security gateway module bypass. All right, we have the center console all buttoned back up and in its place. So now we're gonna show you some footage of how to install the security gateway module bypass device and how to run the OBD Genie programmer. So let's do that now. All right, guys, I'm gonna show you how to run the OBD Genie programmer in the 2019 and up heavy-duty Ram truck. Now, in order to run the Genie programmer to enable the option that you're looking for, you also have to install temporarily a security gateway module bypass. Now this is just installs temporarily just to allow you to program the vehicle's body control module for the specific feature you're looking to enable. Now the security gateway module is located behind the speedometer, so I'm gonna show you guys how to get to that. It's not as hard as it sounds. The whole process, including the programming and reassembling, takes about 15 to 20 minutes. So let's get started. You notice it gives you a little bit of room here. All we have to do now is pull on this little panel here, just enough to loosen it up a little bit. Now what we're gonna do is pull out the speedometer bezel here. So what you're gonna wanna do is on the lip of the bezel here, to put your pry tool in or a regular screwdriver, you're just gonna wanna pry down on it to release the clips. Then just pull it out. You notice it just has retaining clips. There's no screws that hold that bezel in. So on the right side of your speedometer, you're gonna have the little part that you popped out earlier. You don't have to disconnect this, just kind of set it off to the side. Same thing on the other side, just pop that off. Set it off. Now you're gonna notice two 7mm screws on this instrument or this steering column panel. So you're gonna go ahead and remove those two screws. I like to go ahead and put the column down a little bit, but basically you just pop this out. And then you'll notice two lower screws on the actual speedometer itself, and then two screws at the top. So go ahead and remove those four. All right, now that all of our screws are out, we can simply just pull the cluster out, flip it upside down, and just temporarily disconnect it. Behind the speedometer cluster is where the security gateway module is located. All right, so what we're gonna do is we're just gonna disconnect those two connectors that are in the side of that module. These two connectors here will simply just plug into our bypass device. We can just set it back here. We can go ahead and install our cluster. We're just gonna set the cluster back in place. We're not gonna actually screw it in. We're just gonna set it back in place. Now at this particular point, now that the security gateway module bypass is installed, now we can run our OBD Genie programmer in the OBD2 port. All we have to do is put the vehicle in the run position, and then we can go ahead and plug it in. It takes about 30 seconds. You'll see a green light illuminate, and then once the green light comes on, you know you're all done. All right, what we're gonna do is go ahead and put the vehicle in the run position, and we'll go ahead and plug in our Genie programmer. You'll see a series of lights. As soon as you get the solid green light, you can go ahead and unplug it and won't be needed anymore. All right, we now have the solid green light, so we can go ahead and disconnect it. You'll also notice that your speedometer cluster and your infotainment system will reset as well. All right, guys, we went ahead and turned the truck off. Now all we have to do is just remove the bypass device, plug those 2 cables back into the security gateway module, and just reassemble everything. So as you can see, very easy to do. We've been in here for maybe 12 minutes. So what we're gonna do now is just kind of put it all back. All right, we're gonna go ahead and put this closeout panel in. You'll notice how it kind of has this lip here. You're gonna wanna stick that in and then pop it into place. The other side is the same way where the ignition switch is. All right, now when you install the speedometer bezel, you're gonna wanna clip in the bottom first, and then slide the top back, and it'll pop back into place. All right, guys, we have the wireless smartphone charger installed in this Ram truck. As you can see, not overly difficult to install, but let me take a minute and kind of show you how it works. All right, now to utilize the wireless charger, you're gonna wanna set your smartphone just to the right of the blue LED light. You gotta give it maybe 5 or 6 seconds, and it will illuminate. So as you can see, the blue light has turned on, and you can see that it's charging. So just an awesome feature here. Again, you can see it's very easy to install right here in the center console of your Ram truck. All right, guys, another awesome upgrade offered by Infotainment.com. So come check us out. Thanks for watching.